That's the Sheepshead Bay post office right there. 11235. It was my zip code almost during my first 20 years of life. When I was 15 years old, in the summer of 1971, I was working in Baskin-Robbins on Sheepshead Bay Road. I was 15, and it was a summer job. And I was walking to work on a day very much like this, except it was a summer day. And I got to the elbow in Sheepshead Bay Road, the bend in Sheepshead Bay Road, and I heard a shot. I knew it wasn't a firecracker. You know, gunshots, I guess, do sometimes sound like firecrackers, but I knew, somehow I knew this was not a firecracker. And I ran from Sheepshead Bay Road, which is over there, to the spot right there between those two cars, between the black SUV and the gray Honda. And when I got there, what I saw was a sort of heavy-set, middle-aged man lying in this gutter, his legs sprawled out on the sidewalk, his body fallen into the gutter. His chest was heaving very irregularly, and there was a little red dot the size of a dime on his shirt. And it literally was that big. And there was a little, right here in his abdomen, a dime-sized red hole. Several people, including myself, formed around him, and no one did anything. It was like we were waiting for him to give us permission to help him, like Simon Says help him. And then finally what someone did was they came out, they put their sweatshirt or jacket under his head as a pillow, and someone called the police. And within about 5 minutes, an ambulance came, and the doctors and the emergency medical technicians, who weren't called emergency medical technicians then, started working on him. And his chest was really heaving, and his breathing was very irregular. And I was very confused by this because, you know, I was 15 years old, and I did not understand how, you know, a bullet hole, even a bullet that size, you know, with that much damage could really inflict so much damage to the man. And lo and behold, he stopped breathing. And the EMTs or whatever they were working on him quite furiously, and nothing. He went limp, and they lifted him onto a gurney. And this is the thing I will never, ever forget as long as I live. They pulled off one of his socks, and it was a black Banlon sock. I'll never forget it, because there it was lying on the sidewalk next to the gurney. And one of the ambulance drivers or the emergency medical guys took out a tongue depressor, you know, one of those, you know, say ah tongue depressors, and began stroking it along the guy's foot. And I was totally and utterly confused by this, that this guy who'd been shot, who was just in front of me, breathing like 20 seconds ago, now is on a gurney, his sock is off, and they're rubbing a tongue depressor along his foot. Only many, many years later did I find out the whole story. First, the tongue depressor thing. I found out what they were checking for is something called a Babinski reflex, which only dead people and newborns don't have. So they were checking to see if they were confirming the fact that he was dead. But what had happened here was that this gentleman, who was either the bookkeeper or manager of Wolf Motors, which was a Ford dealership a few miles down that way, had gone to the bank, which is that bank right there. I don't think it was a Chase bank then. It might have been a chemical bank. Had come and gotten the payroll, then took the money into the post office right there to mail something. And the second he walked out of the post office, someone who had been following him walked right up to him, stuck a pistol in his gut and shot him. And that was the shot I heard, and I came running. So I never, you know, I never saw the guy who shot him. You know, in my imagination, I sometimes think I heard him running away. You know, I never found out the guy's name. They never captured the killer. And, you know, in some ways, in my unconscious, this has stayed with me. And the fact is, it showed me a lot. I learned a lot of lessons that day. I learned, A, that crime is not a funny thing, and murder especially is not a funny thing, and that life is very fragile. And these are themes which come out in my work, and, you know, that's why we're standing here in the middle of Sheepshead Bay.